Okay, wait a minute.
Hey,
I've seen Next Generation, I've seen Enterprise, I've seen Voyager. Like, I actually
okay.
have seen quite a few of them. It's just the original series and that cast, I didn't really, like, I didn't see that.
No, yeah, and you know what? That's the thing. That's fine. And I know this is probably going to get me some hate, but I actually recently started rewatching the original series because um, Strange New Worlds, the new series, has so
Hmm.
many references to the original series in it that I basically my son and I decided to rewatch the original series so he could pick up on those references and that I could be refreshed for him. We got about halfway through the first season before we stopped. I'm going to say something that's just probably going to get me all the hate in the world. Star Trek: The Original Series is kind of a bad show, and it's,
Yes.
it
I understand it's
we've
historical
gotten so
love
much
and
better. Yeah,
everything.
and
Like, it, yeah.
there's a lot of good stuff that we've gotten from it. It definitely is seminal and important and should definitely be revered for a lot of historical reasons.
Right?
But I think
It has the very first interracial kiss in television history.
yep,
Like,
all good messages involved when it comes to racism and capitalism and all that sort of stuff.
hmm
Ahead of its time in every way, for sure. But it's okay if you're not a fan because we have gotten so much better since then. It's okay to admit that it's kind of shit, compared to what we have available to us now.
yeah, that's the thing.
Um,
Like, when people say original series over Next Generation, but Picard over Kirk, I'm like,
that
well,
doesn't make
hold
any
on a
sense.
second, man.
Yeah.
Like, no, the Next Generation was it like, okay, but again, I didn't watch the original series, so I can't really say anything on that. I just know that I've watched some clips, and I know people very, really, really, really love it,
Hmm.
but the acting isn't even that good.
No. Nope. The acting's
Like,
not that good. Some of the first few stories were weird. I mean, it took this show like we've talked before about how like sometimes it takes a show to get its feet. Sometimes you can't find your voice in your
TNG, it didn't really get it until season two.
right. Same thing with the original series. Those first like dozen episodes of the first series are rough. They are like it's like they basically took rejected Twilight Zone episodes, like some spec scripts for the Twilight Zone, and then just
Mm-hmm.
sci-fied them up a little bit. And that was like episode 4 of Star Trek, and like they didn't even bother mentioning the Federation until like near the end of season 1. Like for the longest time, Kirk's just the captain of the Earth ship Enterprise. Never mentioned the Federation of Planets or nothing like that. So they don't even say Starfleet for the longest time. Like it's they it was a long time before they figured out any world building at all, let alone the voice of the show. And it's okay. It's okay. If you're getting into Star Trek, you don't have to watch the original series. You can read the
No.
Wikipedia page and you're good. You're just fine. You'll get
No,
everything you need to
that's
know.
well, that's the thing. Like the like hardcore Trekkies and the hardcore Star Wars fans that will watch
Hmm.
literally every property or every piece of property that drops and all this stuff.
Yep.
Like, I am going to watch The Acolyte, mostly, and I'm not ashamed of this at all.
Hmm.
The main, like, not maybe not the main actor, but one of the main actors, the Korean man,
Oh yeah, the guy from he was in the Good
Squid
Place,
Game.
right? Yeah.
Yeah, he learned English in 4 months to take this role.
Oh, that guy.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. No, I haven't seen The Good Place, so I have no idea. But the guy
Oh,
who
you'd
was the
like the
star
Good
of
Place.
Squid Game,
Okay. Okay. He learned English in 4 months for this role. Gotta
yes.
fucking respect that.
And
Okay.
I watched I think I watched the full first episode. Not bad. And I was like, did he have a translator on set telling him what other people were saying and telling him how he's supposed to deliver these lines? Because does he actually understand? And if he does, 4 months? Oh my god. Wow, just incredible. Wow, like incredible. I mean, one, just the dedication to do that, but
Yeah.
the skill to be able to pick up a new language like that. That is I really got to give him some
Well,
credit.
there are, if you've got the money and the time,
Mhm.
there are programs out there that like can do it in two. You know, like
No, I do get that, but
yeah.
I'm still gonna give them credit. Like I'm
Oh,
still like
absolutely. I'm not saying that it's not. It doesn't require dedication for certain. But yeah, that's
no, but what I was saying, like with the Star Wars properties, the people who like the problem is the people who make the projects, they don't communicate with each other to have this really solid congruent story that spans across all these. I know they
right.
try, but they also fail. And because it's Star Wars and because they know so many people are going to go watch them, they try to push the envelope in very weird ways.
Hmm.
Like I can't remember what her name was, but she's either a producer or a director of one of the Star Wars properties. And she did an interview. She's like, I just really, really love making straight white men really uncomfortable. It's like, well, where I do see where you're coming from, and you do want to accept that challenge, you don't at the same time get to be upset when those people are uncomfortable and squirming because of your show. You don't get to go, I love making these people squirm and uncomfortable, and then go, how come the main part of the demographic doesn't like what I gave them? It's like, you tried to make them squirm and uncomfortable. You got
Well,
what
yeah,
you wanted.
sure,
Like,
yeah,
most of the Star Wars fan base is white guys. That is not all the fan base. It just isn't. But a huge portion of it is. So when you choose to alienate that group,
well,
yeah.
can we call it alienate? Is making them uncomfortable the same thing as alienation? And I say this having not actually seen whatever property that is that we're talking about here. I
I
haven't seen the
haven't watched
Acolyte yet.
anything Star Wars in quite a while. I mean, I
Yeah,
watched the first episode of The Acolyte, and a lot of people are like, it's so woke and crazy. And I'm like, because there's women and people of color? That doesn't.
and then from what I hear, that
Yeah.
basically is it. Yeah.
Yeah,
Um,
no, outside of that, there's nothing. I mean, there's nothing wrong with the show, even including that. I'm not saying that's something wrong with the show. It just that is the show.
yeah.
Like that's the
Um,
thing. Not literally everything made is going to be for the white guy. Like
right.
I can watch something that is made for somebody else and I can enjoy it. But just like if you ask an Asian person or a black person to watch something that is very racist and just punching on them as a community and stuff like that, and you get to the end of it and go, what, you didn't like that? It's like, well, obviously they didn't like that, and you shouldn't have shown them that. You're kind of a dick for doing that. Putting the same shoe, like just literally everything like that. If you're talking about something that is just ripping into white guys and stuff like that,
well,
you're literally doing the exact same thing and just kind of hoping
well,
for a different result. That's kind of
well,
insane.
well, that's the question. I mean, I guess I'm actually in the context of this interview. Was she actually surprised? I mean, maybe that was her explanation. Someone's coming to
No,
her and
no,
saying,
no. I'm putting two things together that didn't happen at the same time.
"Okay,
So, I think she actually might have been the showrunner for The Acolyte.
okay,
Now, where it's just not about men and everything like that, all this, that would push people. Okay, if you and I wrote something, and before we released it, we went, man, I just love making black and Asian people squirm with my work and all this. You can, like, we could reasonably expect that most black and Asian people are not going to go watch, like, check that book out or go watch that
eh,
property.
probably a good portion of white people too. Let's be honest. You know, I mean, that's yeah,
Well, no, no, no,
I,
but specifically for that reason, for them to do it. Like, I'm not talking
yeah,
about social justice warriors or anything like that. I'm
right,
not, but I'm just literally talking. If it's a project slamming them, they're not going to want to read it. Like that.
sure,
That seems very, very like understandable.
yeah,
Even if the acolyte is not slamming them, the showrunner talked about like enjoying like making them squirm and feel uncomfortable and all this stuff.
okay,
So
yeah,
if you hear that, you may skip that one because it's
sure,
like, okay, well, maybe this is for other people
yeah,
and that's fine. But if the show is literally designed to mess with me, maybe I shouldn't watch this one. Maybe I should leave it for who it was made for.
sure, yeah,
So then it
that
doesn't
makes
get
sense. Yeah,
yeah, it makes complete sense. So the Acolyte doesn't get watched, and like the amount of people that are checking it out, just not as much.
Hmm.
And it makes sense when the diehard fans are the ones who go watch. Like, it's Star Wars. They're
Yeah.
watching the interviews. They're looking for spoilers. They're listening to all of this. When you tell them that, you don't get to be surprised when it doesn't succeed.
Yeah.
Like, you can be, look, I did something, I'm proud of my work, everything like that. I put the message out there, is what it is. But you don't get to, I mean, and logically, like, obviously, do whatever you want. But
Right.
it doesn't make sense to say, I'm gonna make you hurt and squirm and wiggle in your
Well, it's
seat and all that, and then go, well, how come you didn't come to my show? Like, you told them not
well, see,
to.
that's my question. Is I'm wondering, is it her that's complaining that no one's watching it, or is it Disney just complaining no one's watching it because they didn't
Oh, it's
check
Disney.
beforehand? Okay, yeah. See, there's the thing.
Yeah.
I got no problem with her. You know, that's the thing. I was like, this.
Oh no,
Clearly
I have
isn't
no
on.
problem. I have no problem
Yeah.
with her either. But it's see
Yeah,
that's
I think this is
that's a
on this is on Disney for not maybe checking in on who it
but
was
it's
that.
also just kind of how marketing goes. So if you tell because you nailed it right on the head a little bit earlier. If you tell people this project is going to make white men squirm, that's going to send an entire different community to go watch it.
Yeah.
So that's the thing. But it's kind of one of those things where they're like
If
where
that entire different community isn't Star Wars fans to begin with, it makes it a tough sell.
it does, because you want to pay homage and respect and honor the fans that are already there, because you are working with something that they love. But you are trying to bring a new demographic into it as well. That is a tough balance and a fine line to balance. I really do understand that.
Well, and at the same time, though, and it's interesting because an author that I follow, has written a series of books I really like called John Dies at the End.
Oh,
Great
right.
series.
Yeah, yeah. Oh, they're
Yeah.
bringing the movie. They're doing a sequel now.
Oh, nice, nice,
They're
good.
kicking it up.
Well, there's like 4 books out now, and he's done. He's on TikTok doing just like kind of like random discussions and stuff like that.
Hmm.
And he was talking about one of the weird kind of traps that creatives find themselves in these days, where um, everything kind of has to connect to something else. We're limiting our ability to be creative because in order to draw an audience, to grow an audience, to make it into a thing, like anybody out there could have a story in their head that could very well be the next Star Wars. Like
Hmm.
once it's had its time, it could be, you know, maybe its own universe, its own story, its own set of characters, and once it's had some time to grow, could be a whole other franchise all in of its own, right alongside Star Wars. But nobody can get any eyeballs on it unless you somehow make it part of Star Wars, because
Hmm.
that's the only way to get anybody's attention, or part of Marvel, or part of Harry Potter, or something like that. And so we're all kind of stuck in this weird, like, we can only write fan fiction kind of mode, and we're kind of locking ourselves into this sort of anti-creative thing, and then that's kind of on us. Like, we can blame studios for being unimaginative all we want. The fact is that it's on us, because when we are deciding what to spend our very limited 24 hours of eyeball time on, we are going for the franchise stuff that we're not going to new stuff nearly as much as we should be.
Well, we like familiarity and, ongoing stories. But the thing is, like, this week, we picked 2 movies that have definitive endings, and I really appreciated that about both of them, even though ID4 got a sequel, and that should not have
Which doesn't
happened.
count.
No, nope, it doesn't.